So, I've treated my life as basically an experiment. And it hasn't been fully just, hey, let's just experiment. That's all we're going to do with my whole life. No, I've basically just observed as if, you know, I was a bystander in my own life. And basically, I wanted to prove to myself whether or not God actually exists. And what I've found is God absolutely does exist. It takes a long time to find his messaging, but once you found it, it's there. And even if you're in a rough spot, you have to realize that you can get that energy from God. Now, the problem is that nobody's perfect, and getting closer and closer to perfection gets you closer and closer to God, right? And that's how anybody could imagine it to be. Like, I'm gonna actually put this, if I can, put it on like full screen because I don't want to see how many followers I have watching. I definitely don't mind people messaging and stuff, but I don't even want to see who's watching me. You know what I mean? Um, let's see if I can throw this into full screen. I can't hide it. No, it won't let me. So whatever the case, though, there's a lot of people that are just like, what side do we belong on? Following God doesn't mean that you're following some kind of political ideology beyond the Ten Commandments and trying to do the best that you can. And no one's perfect. If you read through the Bible repeatedly, you find that everyone has made a mistake. Jesus didn't make a mistake because it wasn't recognized as mistakes, because he was likely very transparent in everything that he had done. So at the end of the day, they were able to confirm that Jesus hadn't committed any sins, and maybe, things just happened for a reason. So that's to stomp out the thought that God doesn't exist because no one's perfect. So don't think that you have to reach perfection to reach God. Your goal is to strive for that. The closer that you get to that, the closer that you can get to happiness and to self-fulfillment. At the end of the day, when you're, the last moments on this planet, you sit there and wonder what kind of an impact you've had on the world around you, or just to yourself. Like, was this life worth it? And these are the things that'll run through your head. And if you do the right things, then you have more things to keep you alive and to keep you energetic. That's why you see people like Trump being energetic into their 80s. They've done good things, and they saw this at a young age, or just at some point, and they decided to protect their future and to live a little bit longer. There's a lot of people that don't understand that others rely on their existence, on them to be alive, until it comes to that point when they're basically just it's shoved in their face. Oh yeah, I am important. A good example is my girlfriend. She's like, oh, I don't have any friends, and I'm like, well, because like her friends were like having her take pictures of them, and she wasn't included. So that kind of thing, that would happen. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, a lot of people are still going through these motions. Even at older ages, they're still going through the motions of what's important to me. Do I need friends? Where do I get my validation from? I think everybody's just chasing these temptations rather than actually trying to build around them. And that's my big criticism towards the world right now. It was before, don't judge a book by its cover, because you don't know if that's actually... Yeah, YouTube doesn't want to be reliable, so now I get my regular disconnection from the platform. This is why I can't have a good conversation on this anymore. Like, I'm just constantly getting probably cyber attacked. And there's so many cyber attacks going on right now. It's just absolutely devastating. So that's what's going on right now, is that this whole internet thing is fully compromised. In reality, you look at it, it's fully compromised. We're reaching an end point, and everybody by the year 2032 in America will mostly have thrown away their phones. What will replace that? That's the thing that people need to start wrapping their head around. What's going to replace these phones? It's not going to be AI, because the phone is AI. This is already AI. AI is the program itself. You tap something, it can register that it needs to do this other thing because you tapped that button, or you said, you put this certain phrase in or something. That is artificial intelligence. We're already there. We were already there 30, 40 years ago when this stuff was typed into a computer. But what's going to replace it? Is it going to be civilization? Humankind? No, that can't happen. There's such a split between the ages that, the young people are like hyper, like overstimulated, hyperstimulated, and now they can't see reality anymore. And then you got the older generation that's already seen it all and they don't want to talk about it. That's been going on since the beginning of time. That's why you have certain thinkers that stand out above others. That you have certain writings that stand the test of time. People get it later on, and they look at it later on, and they're like hundreds of years, thousands of years later. Whoa, that made sense. It's because those people were the only ones who were actually speaking out and wishing to say something. These thoughts are running through many other people's heads. Most other people's heads. The only problem is that there's no real constant, like logical constant for people to wrap their heads around anymore. That's why the Bible will be the default for the future. If you want to really get ahead of the changing times, read the Bible and read all of these religious texts. Read all of them to see not the truth, but like the what would you call it? Like subjective truth or objective truth, whichever fucking truth fits into that and not the other one. It's going to be that. And you're going to have to choose, what do you see in front of you? Dirt, trees, animals, or do you want to refer to the Bible? Real stories, civilization, cause and effect. That's the near future. That's like when things, they flip over. You're going to have people that are like shamans. I'm not going to be one of these fucking shamans. I don't want to be. But what you're going to have is people fighting to find reason. After watching Gossip Goblin, seeing like a potential future, I'm just like, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. But how deep do we get into that before everything collapses? Now, you don't have to think in the form of like doom and things like that. It's that you want to find where to put your energy. That's what everybody's doing, is trying to find purpose, trying to find where do we put our energy. All you can do is really try to build, doing things like, what was it? Yesterday, probably 5 different people swerved at me on the road. Like they went around and they're like beeping, honking as if I'm in their way when I'm in the breakdown lane. There's feet to the side. There's like a whole foot at least from me to the edge of the breakdown lane into the road. I'm off the road completely, and they're beeping their horn like I'm in their way. And then they go in front, they go ahead and they swerve towards me like they want to hurt me or something. That's going completely against anything that you want to actually be doing for your life. You're sowing destruction. You're sowing chaos into the world around you. That's not how you get change. You don't start hurting people and things. That's not how you get change. You actually make it worse. That's how you prevent change. That's how you get the change that you don't exactly want. Now, the reason why I say, God provides, because here I am just striving to, be a kind person, be an efficient working person, and things are just popping up out of nowhere. Like I found a scooter. It's not its battery is totally dead, but I found a fucking scooter that I can go and I can fix it up and have a motorized scooter on top of the bike, so I can actually get other things done on the side before I can actually afford to fix my other bike. Great. I have a like this fucking TV's huge. I found a free TV with a free sign, free sticker on it on the side of the road. I'm like, sweet. I found a free bat. That was the other night. And I don't know. I just feel like that's like God paying me back. It's like I used to have a TV. I went and junked it because I went to go live in my vehicle. This was before I came down to Florida. I got rid of my TV for like $100. Well, now I have a TV for free. Now, I didn't steal it from anybody. Somebody left it out on the road with a free sign on it, and it freaking works. What's amazing is it doesn't have a camera on it, doesn't have a microphone on it. It's not one of those spy TVs. It's beautiful. But I ended up getting back what I had before and then some, in a way. So God has already provided a lot for me. And I feel like I just need to continue working towards that. But I'm proof that this world is absolutely cruel. But if you work hard and you continue to believe and have faith, things will work out. God makes you bulletproof. And you can take it from me, who, like, you know, I've been able to prove it. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to prove it without receiving government benefits, with just having the basics. I don't even get food from the government. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get a house to live in, a shower to access, and that's it. That's all I get in this house. And I am succeeding to a certain degree by working the amount that I can work and with the tools that I've been provided by God at the end of the day. And if I succeed, then I will further have proven God is real. And I could not have done it without the good people that do exist. Because in order to have gotten that TV or the scooter, somebody good had to have forfeited their connection to a material good and leave it out on the road for me to find. Thank you. I appreciate that, by the way. So yeah, you know, you just continue to run it, continue to find faith, and like hold on to that faith, but not blindly. You will receive. But it will be the default for the future. So you might want to dig a little bit deeper. You might want to do a little bit of studying just for the sake, if you're in like college or something, and you should understand how it is when you're talking to random people. You want to have something to talk about. Perfect. God is a thing that you can talk about. Scripture is a thing that you can talk about. And that's what will generally be talked about in the turning of times. If things go south, that's what people will be latching onto, because that is the universal constant. That's what people know about. People can recite most of the 10 Commandments. People can recite some things out of the Bible. Everybody knows about the Bible. That's why it would be a default. People would run to the thing that's available. So it's just math. But this math brings us onto a spiritual journey, and there you go. That spiritual journey is finding faith and doing the right things, building and moving forward. Don't be envious. You know, I see people riding by me in these beautiful vehicles, and I have to I have to battle away from being envious. The way that I do it is I look at it this way. Because I am doing good things, I'm moving forward, someone else can have something and feel good about it, and that's great. If they're driving like an asshole, that's when I'm like, I come on here and I'm like, what a bunch of assholes. But generally, that's what got me to be basically humble, with life, is to continue to find faith. I didn't have to get damaged. I didn't have to get beat the fuck down to find faith. All that happened was a mishap, a simple logic, a reasoning to see that this is true and that's not true. That's what brought me to a light. So when people are like, struggle, everybody's going to struggle in order to get... No, you don't have to struggle as long as you continuously find faith and hold on to faith. You don't have to struggle. It's not part of the journey to have to struggle. It's the part of the journey is to find the truths, the constants, and to latch onto them. That's why the Jewish people, that's why people need to have a little bit more respect, considering that all they're trying to do is keep it in their community. Any issues, they solve it through the Torah, through their religion. That's why they're getting, Tyler Oliveira wants to pop out a video with, they're getting all this funding and stuff. It's like, they're doing the right things. That's the whole point of us supporting Israel. They're doing the right things in the sense of holding on to tradition, and therefore we support that. And they're surrounded by, many of them are barbarians, not every one of them, but barbaric nations that are surrounding them. That's why we're supporting Israel. It's because they stand, whether or not it be the same religion as Christianity, it's not. They stand for a set of traditional values that we also uphold here in this country. That's why we support them. Like, believe in God and you will see, and pray to God out loud behind closed doors, but out loud. You don't want other people to be involved with prayer. Your prayer is from between you and God. It's the only way you're going to be able to see, whether it's actually true. And speak it out loud. Make requests to God. And you know what? Play around. Make a bad request and see what happens. If you want to play around with, is God real? Is God real? Make a bad request to God and you will see consequence. That's why many people have seen consequence and they're like, I didn't do anything wrong. Why did God smite me? Well, it's because you requested God to do something terrible. We all pay for that. Like, you pay for that if you do that. I pay for that if I do that. But God provides, and God has... He hasn't provided everything that I need. Why? Because if I had been given everything that I need immediately by God, then I would not have interacted with people outside of God. So God does want you to interact with society too. That's what we've also lost. So that's why the church is good. It's because it brings people together. The problem is that there's a lot of people who don't actually believe in God going to church, and they're eating up that space and making it very uncomfortable for other people. Like, everybody's going to the church with like a problem, like, I need help, so give me something. Nobody's really going to the church just to hang out anymore. I haven't been to the church for quite a while, but I would imagine that's where things are at, considering that we don't have everybody singing hallelujah. I haven't gone to church since I was very young. I'm afraid to go to church. And if I'm afraid to go to church and other people are having these, I'm just putting these logic puzzles together, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that's probably the case. That's probably the case over here too, or that, But I think the best thing that you can do right now, it's obviously learn how to survive, make fire with wood, be able to rub 2 sticks, use the canoe method, dig like a flat little crease into the wood, and then take another stick, a hard one, and jam it across back and forth into that slot, and you'll make a fire. That kind of stuff, you need to learn how to do it before you're put in that situation where you don't know how to make a fire and you don't have a lighter. Here's the thing, is that people think that everything's just going to work out fine if they continue to find faith. Yes. But generally, people don't actually do that. Generally, something gets in the way. That's why you want to strive for something more than that. Because yes, it's a constant logical truth that if you do the right things, there is less of a probability, less of a chance of something bad happening. But no one is perfect, and therefore you need to fight and strive to do things in perfection, before you make these imperfections. You want to strive for perfection. You are never going to get to perfection, but finding that perfection is part of the journey, and that's all we are, is a journey. I look at it this way. This is the best way to explain life. We're on a roller coaster ride. There is never going to be up, 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 and up, and up, because life wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be here. If we went down, 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 life wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be here. We are an up and down motion. Our life goes up, down, up, down, up, down. It's supposed to do that. You find neutral, that's like a flat line. You're dead. So you can't do this all the way, into the abyss, and you can't do that all the way up into the sky. You have to go up and down. Otherwise, you're dead that way, you're dead that way, and you're dead that way. That's how I explained it when I was 14, and I wrote a book about it. That's part of my writings that got thrown out with, all of my belongings that I left over my family member's house. So basically, I was writing a book, and that was my basis, is that you can't go all the way up, all the way down. It doesn't work. And you can't flatline, or else you're dead. This was just basic math. And I was trying to wrap my head around the proton, the neutron, and the electron, and to understand negatives and positives and neutrals, and to understand this whole world that we're in. At 14, all we understood for sure was that there were only the main 3 subatomic particles. So I wanted to wrap my head around that. I was like, well, if that's all we can see and that's all that's relevant, then it must be relevant. So I tried to wrap my head around it, and that's what I came up with, was the equation for life. It's that you cannot find up all the way or down all the way. And you cannot flatline. This is impossible. So if that's true, then after life, we're also still alive, because you would not exist. You see what I mean? We were matter before we were this, and then we're matter still after the fact. So we must still exist somewhere after we pass, or else we wouldn't exist here. That's another conclusion I came up with when I was 14, when I had first started writing a book. I didn't continue writing that book until I was 24. So 10 years later, I jumped back onto it. Actually, never mind. So I jumped back on it, started writing about it. And I have some of those saved somewhere if I can restore a device. I have another book that I was writing at 24, and I was piggybacking off of my old original ideas when I was 14. My ideology on the world hasn't really changed very much since 14. When I was 13, I was emo. When I was 14, I was like, life. Oh, okay. Yeah, we only got one of these. So I've been enlightened since 14. Now, this is me testing the rest of my life as sort of a science experiment, but not really. Because I'm trying to live, I'm trying to do the right things and build, but I'm also observing my life from like an outside perspective. I'm like, well, why did this happen? What can happen from here? That's the problem, is that I can't really do much foresight for my own life. All I can do is continue to build and look at the big picture. I can see what other people are doing. I can't really, me, I just continue to take energy from God. God tells me to do something, I do it. That's all I can do. That's where I'm limited. But I can see what everything else is doing. So that's where the information comes from. It comes from a different place. When I'm talking about these world events, I'm not talking from what somebody else said. I saw this shit when I was 14. I knew that all this stuff was going to happen at 14. When you see the transition between no cell phones, just pagers is the most wireless type of device that you're going to have, to now everybody's got cell phones and you can see where the technology is leading. I was able to see it at a very young age. It was like 14. And everybody, no matter what age they were, it was a moment in time. If they had experienced this, then they could see the future from there. Certain people. Most people didn't, because they were mostly paying attention to things like sin, ego, just ego. The ego is built upon a persona. So if you're trying to be something that you're not, then it's built on that persona. Now, me, when I was younger, I always had to fight between being myself and not being myself because I was rejected. People were like, nope, we don't like him, or for whatever reason. And so people would continuously try to attack me. So I had to act like I was one of the crowd. That's, a little dive into my reality. I had to act like I was part of the crowd, but still be myself. That's hard to do. I talk about borderline personality disorders and stuff like that. The way that these things happen, that's how. It's usually social, destruction. People fucking around with the social structure, with community. That's what leads to this. That's why there's an argument for somebody who's grown up in this environment or that environment is going to have a different outcome automatically, scientifically, statistically. But it's not about, what people want to bring up race. It's not really about that. It's really has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with location and time. So there's a lot of people that want to make that argument, and it's like, that's a terrible argument to make. Because there's a lot of people that are actually ignorant about a lot of other things that they're not paying attention to. Like, I'll give you an example. There's a creator that thinks that driving drunk is not a big deal, but weed makes you lazy, so it should be illegal. What? That doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't operate a vehicle if you've had weed in your system for the last 30 days. What? But you're okay with people driving drunk? You could kill somebody if you do that. All right. But you can see how different people's opinions are from one another. At the end of the day, we shouldn't even be having these vehicles driving around on the fucking road. These boxed vehicles, they're sin. There should be no cars on the road. No autonomous vehicles. There shouldn't be shit flying in the fucking air. Should have air balloons, if anything. All right? That's the ideal reality you want to be living in. Because you're not actually living right now. Everything else is living. The robots are controlling you. How much do you actually do in your life and the robot doesn't do? Are you breaking up the coffee grounds? Like, there's some people that do that. That's something that's interesting. Certain cultures, even in this advanced civilization that we're in, where robots do most of the work, there's still people that are fighting to try to do some of that work. I have a lot of respect for those people. That's why I have respect for people in India that are using their hands still to make things. Oh, they got their feet on the cookie. I don't give a fuck. As long as I'm not catching a disease, I don't think people are catching diseases from these cookies, then we're fine. You know what I mean? But the whole point is that even in this advanced culture that we're living in right now, this advanced technological culture where machines are doing most of the work, there's still people that are using their hands to make things. I have the most respect for somebody who can make something with their hands. Why? Because they're not reliant on this technology. They're actually in the real world. I'd rather own something that's been held by somebody that somebody actually made with their fucking hands. I don't want to get something that's pumped out of a machine. The only people that want that are people with businesses that want to make more money. People like handcrafted stuff more than they like machine-made stuff. So making America great again is going to take bringing manufacturing back to this country and us upcharging pretty much everybody who wants to buy our shit. Don't sell it for cheaper. Just because I want to stay in business, capitalism and stuff. Don't make your shit for cheaper. You're an American. You build stuff with your hands, sell it for more. Don't underestimate your value. The reason why the world bought from us was because we made stuff with our hands and we did it right. Yeah, we mass produced things, but we still made it right. You know, that's why German engineering was a thing. It's because they made stuff with their hands and they do it right. That's why China still buys bits from them to produce stuff for us. You know, China buys their most important bits for their machinist capability, for their machinist capacity from Germany. They're still reliant on Germany because they can't make the bits in their own country. Someone says, do not worry about an unfair life. It is obvious that the devil will provide everything he has to his servants to fight God and God's people, but you have God's gift, the word of truth and eternal armor. And that's absolutely true. It's armor. It's protection. It's to protect you while you do things to be productive and to build. That's what the armor is for. It's not there to... There's people that want to use that armor and do terrible things. That's a childish way of doing things. And everybody has been drawn down that path at one point. It's why nobody's perfect. It's because everybody has seen this power and they had the power and then they're like, let's test if this is true. Let's test if God's real. You know, I had the power. I was like on my bike, on my other bike. It was so advanced. It was like, so I could get 100 miles on that thing going at a normal speed. Holy crap, dude. I was trying to get a second battery so I could just like get the fuck out of here. I wanted to go on the road again and ride on a bike. Well, and just live out of hotels again. Well, I felt like I was God and I was like, nothing can stop me. And what did I do? I don't know. I just became ignorant. And it wasn't, I didn't do anything in response to that, but it was as soon as I found that ignorance to say that, oh, I'm so great, I got hit by a car the second time. So, I don't know. Like, I try to work it out in my head, why did this happen? And it might have just been paying it forward. Simple. You know, I got hit by a vehicle one time, and then I just like basically let the guy go. I should have sued him. There were people with video of that. They were like, do you need the video? Do you need the video? They were like offering it up to me. There's 3 people on scene. No ambulance. I'm like, don't call an ambulance. It's just, you know, I should be fine. It fucked my leg up, I could say for sure. I got, you know, I slammed right up against the vehicle. It stopped in front of me. So the second time that I got hit though, it was like I took a week off and I was working for 3 weeks and I got hit again. But at that point I had found ignorance and I was like, I got hit one time and now I got hit then I get hit a second time, but I get hit one time and I'm back on my feet and I can get this shit done. I'm impervious. I'm invulnerable. What God taught me was don't feel that way even when you're on top. Feel protected, but only through faith and never foolishly. That's the whole key to it, is that you don't want to just have foolish faith in something. You don't want to be a fool about it, ever. That's the whole thing with faith, is that you're gaining faith because you're consistently also researching too. You got your eyes open and looking around. So that's the other part of faith. You can't reach faith unless you actually see the truth. So you have to continuously try to find that truth. Throughout our lives, it's just a journey. Our entire life is a journey. And we may repeat it in another body one day, but this journey is incredibly important. Every moment of it. And if you continuously try to build and you continuously try to move forward and act and do things that are just good, you see an opportunity to do good, things will fall into place. The problem is, if you're not consistent, then people may get the wrong idea. Now, I've been consistent. The problem with me is that we had a lot of gossip behind my back. So people would talk about me behind my back, and there would just be gossip everywhere, and nobody actually knew who the hell I was. So that's a problem. And those people will, end up getting that consequence when people realize who the hell I actually am. They unfortunately lose that credibility. It's unfortunate. I don't want to see people hurt. I don't want to see people brought down in value in any way. It's not good for business. It's not good for productivity. I want to see everybody building, a wall around their property. I want to see everybody, having a clean lawn that they could be proud of and, stuff like that. So I've been grabbing slabs of sod off the side of the road, and when they fall out of the trucks, so I've been trying to build a lawn. I got 2 flats of grass outside. I was gonna give that to my mom, one of these to my mom for Mother's Day, but I was like, I'm not gonna get into it. But besides that, to get America great again, we need to be building things. So I'm doing everything that I can with basically no help, no crutch. I don't want a crutch. I don't want the government to be paying for my shit. I qualify to get food stamps. I don't want to get food stamps. I feel like somebody would have to force me to get food stamps, to get any sort of food assistance. I don't want that. If I want to get medicine, pay for my own medicine. I want to pay for my own shit, produce and be a member of society. That's how I've always been. That's why I'm kind of stuck in this hole, is because I haven't been asking for help from the government. I haven't been getting freebies and stuff. That's kind of why I'm stuck in this position. But what I am showing people is that even in that situation, one day it works out. Well, I haven't asked the government for help, so therefore I don't owe the government shit. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how it's going to pay off. I don't want the government in my fucking business. All I do is work and make what I can make and fucking try to, get out of this hole. Eventually, my plan is to have 2 bikes, go out all day, make car money, and be like, bro, I did this all without help from the government. That's what I want to be able to say. Even if it's help from family, it would be useful. But just to say that I did not receive a dime from the government to get my situation settled. I think there should be reward for those who haven't been relying on the government and they've been getting a low income. Anybody under 25 grand right now and they literally pay for a freaking house to live in, that's insane. That is insane. You are doing you're doing God's work at that point. Because that's hard to do. But we need to get down to the bottom of a lot of this fraud in order to fix it all. God will provide. And God provided. Because people took that. They grabbed it. In the future, they are no longer provided for. That's where things change. And that's what's happening right now. Nick Shirley was the beginning of that. But it's kind of insane that it took somebody to actually go out there and do all that work that could have been done easily by the people that we pay. It's kind of silly that we got to that point where our government got hijacked by NGOs, basically. People claiming that they want to help society, but instead they're just throwing it into their fucking pocket. It's insane. There's so many people that needed help, that we wanted to help, that we actually paid taxes to go and help, and they didn't help them. They gave drug addicts fucking drugs. This is CBD, right? This is CBD. I paid $10 to get that pen, and that pen will last me about a week and a half. They were giving money to people in Chicago to buy crack pipes with crack pipe vending machines. That's where the fucking money was going. So when we wanted to provide for society and fix the community, it was all just handed to scumbags. It's where everybody has to open their eyes. Like if you haven't noticed, if you're not on point and watching all this fraud crap going on, what we tried to help society with, it didn't actually get there. It didn't actually reach the people that needed it. A good saying that people use is for weed is, the people who need weed have the weed. That was the day of when the fucking farm bill got passed, or whatever, the medical cannabis started being a thing. It was like the day after it was passed. The people who need it now have it. Dude, it's one fucking day, dude. There's billions of people that do not have access to it. And these people just want to say that the problem was solved. This is how we got ourselves into a dystopian sort of situation. And people are totally blind to it. So what's going to happen in the future is AI is going to take over. This is the thing that you need to understand, is that AI will take over. It's not a if, it's a when. AI is going to take over, and every one of us, if we want to participate in the next economy, then we need to have an AI agent. That's where it's at. And if you don't have a history with an AI agent, then you are no longer a human. If you don't have metadata, internet data, you're no longer a human. According to the web, you are no longer a human. Learn how to provide for yourself and get your provisions from God before it happens. Right now, things are a certain way. Things could snap into a completely different way very soon. So just prepare for that. And that's really my message with this video, is that people are very gullible to think that we'll ever reach a comfort zone again in society. We're never going to reach that comfort zone in society again. We can only continue to band-aid it. Things have gotten so out of control, so far gone, that it is unfixable we cannot fix the whole system. It needs to be pulled down, rebuilt. Unless Vance continues to do what he's doing some hard work, he's doing some heavy lifting. If he can continue doing what he's doing, we might be able to fix this. But here's the thing now. Everything that I say, take it as like it's opposite day, right? Oh no, we have to worry about this. Oh no, we have to worry about that. If things go a certain way, we can avoid this and we could find the good outcome. But besides that, we'd like to continue. This is really how you should take all commentator channels or people who talk. You want to look at it as like, this could happen if we don't do anything about it. If we don't talk about it. It's really less about the doing something about it. If we are all talking about it, then people can recognize the threat and avoid an issue. So that's really the importance of free speech. You don't really need governance if everybody's on board. I'll bring the Tim Pool route with the whole Seamus would never hurt a fly. You don't necessarily need a rule of law if everybody knows what the fucking rules are. If everybody knows what people are not okay with, or whatever people are okay with. If people can talk about it, then we could find peace that way. And you have solutions. You have compromises. That's only if we actually, communicate and talk about it. The reason why we have this American system is because we wanted to just simplify. We were like, fuck all this noise with all these billions of paragraphs of all this nonsense in the parliament over there in Britain. We were like, fuck that noise. We want shit simple. We'll bring out the Constitution. We the people. That was a simplification of everything and using like Christian values to back it up. It was like everybody was on the same page when it came to that. People were talking about it, even when they didn't have access to the news or something. They would still be talking about the Bible in some place. That's why it will be the default, but you have to learn how to get your provisions from God and or provide for yourself. Now, it's going to seem silly as my life advances. I'm going to end up, I got the TV, I got a video game that I'm making, I'm coding. I'm like evolving into advanced technology. My life is evolving into that still. But at some point, it gets thrown away. And I expect that. But it's all part of the experience. How did I get there? I have an entire story to tell. How did I get this? What, you know, how did I find that? That's the whole thing, is the journey. That's why the older people, they don't want to give you anything because they want you to, you know, have a journey or something. But my journey has turned from, you know, people talking behind my back a lot. So it's not really genuine. It's, you know, my story isn't really, oh, I really learned something from the elders. It's more of a, no, I kept getting beat the fuck down by my elders. I had to figure it out mostly for myself because every bit of advice that they had was just terrible. But what I did get was the wisdom, historical reference, and that's what's important. So that's the credit that you need to always give to elders. They have historical reference that applies. They could tell you word of mouth, not through a writing, word of mouth, exactly what happened, why that happened, and what's likely to happen if this happens again. That's why to respect your elders. It's just because they have a historical reference that you need. If you're a younger person, you could be 50 years old and you're still learning, you know? Raining. I expected it. It's only going to rain for like a couple hours, then I'm going back out to go to work. But simple as this, God provides, and yeah, you know, family's also supposed to, you know, be a part of this whole symbiotic situation. You know, somebody has less, you're supposed to try to bring that other part up. You know, you're supposed to build your house. You can't just let a corner of your house fucking fall apart. You know, you can't do that, or else the whole fucking house ends up falling, or that part of the house just breaks off. Then you have less of a house. Like my sad story is I have to break away from all of this and be that broken off chunk of the house, and I won't be anywhere near this house. So my story of a family at some point becomes a non-story. And that's in the good scenario. That's when, you know, I've completely cut ties. I'm completely on my own. I don't have to talk to anybody but new people I might meet or people that I already know that are actually safe to talk to. But with this knowledge, having this point of view has turned me to God on top of where I was already looking. So it's continuously pushing me closer and closer to God. And so it's different when it comes to other people. You want to kind of build with your family and stuff. You got a good relationship. It's great. But when those relationships have completely soured, you know, you have to get out of that situation. And so I'm currently kind of like in limbo with that. It's like I'm stuck in a situation. I don't want to be in this fucking situation, but I am stuck in this situation. And what I'm hoping is that when I get out of the situation, I can blast off like a rocket, right? So I have to continuously just keep praying and keep hoping that God provides me that out. But above that, let's see. Where could I branch off from that? Oh yeah, so above that, you'll see opportunities to do good things. Now, when you do see these opportunities to do these things with anything, any action, you want to always battle, is this a good idea or a bad idea? Does this help somebody or does it destroy someone? If it's ever to destroy, then you don't want to do it. You want to do something that either repairs that part that might get harmed. You want to always have that in your mind. This sounds woke, but this is the reality of what they were supposed to be, chasing. Just to be logical, to see somebody's hurt lying on the fucking ground. Are you just going to step over him? Kick him on the way out? Like, that's crazy. But that's what society has been doing. That's been a real issue, but it's been happening for quite a while now. And now you got people who infiltrated and stole from those reservoirs that should have gone to your own people. So this whole fraud thing, it also exposes one side and then another side. There was enough money. My thing just reconnected, so I don't know. I just didn't want to help any. And liberals fucked everything up because they went too extreme. You had one side only help the people that have less. Well, how do you know they have less? They don't have less. How do you know? I went to the fucking hospital, got hit by a vehicle a second time. Nobody's calling me, hey, do you need any help? There's no liberal saying, you need some help, man? We get your follow-up number. We just want to make sure you're okay. You need any services? No, nothing. My lawyers, the people who settled my case, hey, how you doing? No, nothing. I mean, we got we're going to help everybody except for the ones that we don't like. So we're going to find reasons to not money for that. But here's, stuff more in my pocket. And they steal a little more. That's how this fucking fraud shit happened. Yeah, the liberals fucking took over and they just drained they drained it into their own pockets. That's where all money went, but there was plenty of money. People could have helped. So yeah, the young generation has a lot to be fucking angry about. But that was people trying to provide, and even me trying to provide for myself when I'm paying these taxes. I need help. No, I get fucking hit by a vehicle, completely their fucking fault. I get a third of what was owed to me because there was somebody that had more, so that they had more value on the books, so that they received more money. Like if my value was like $100,000, I would have received all of it. That makes no sense. Anyways, so at the end of the day, the insurance companies you pay, taxes are basically like an insurance. If you really want to look at government, it's supposed to be an insurance check. If this happens, then we get fucked over by something, even foreign threats, foreign and domestic, then you're going to protect us, right? That's what the government was for. It's not helping us. It's fucking us. God will provide, but not if you just sit down and not talk about it. So you got to talk about shit. But the real action comes from awareness, knowing about these things. Only small actions need to be taken to make big change. That's my point. And God will provide, but you still need to take small actions. And you want to mostly be building. You don't want to be tearing things down. Because think about it, we only got one of these Earths. It's like, what if China was the greatest threat, and it kind of is, to the United States, and we need to take them out or something, just imagine, okay, let's blow up the whole planet to go neutralize a threat. It doesn't make any sense, does it? So you don't want to take huge action. You know what I mean? You want to take equal force kind of reactions. I'm not going to branch into another conversation that could be had, but let's see. But you want to look at the whole world, the whole existence as your family. But then you look at it like, what happens? What if you were to live 1,000 years from now? Then everybody that you knew, you don't know them anymore. You don't talk to them anymore. That's why you need to get your provisions from God. Because one day you don't have anyone but God. I guess that's the message. I think it's a strong message. I think it's straight. But this shouldn't be a new concept to anybody. And people need to understand what God actually is. It's really, a lot of it has to do with minding your own. So Christianity is sort of like a inclusive religion, but people don't understand how it's supposed to be inclusive. They allow you to exist. So Christians allow people to exist. If you've committed a sin, we allow you to exist. Okay. We allow each other to exist because we want people to be able to work on these issues and come up with solutions. So Christianity doesn't stand for crusade. Now, you know what religions actually do stand for crusade. There's certain religions out there, I won't name them. But they do stand for let's go and make change by committing violence. That's their message. And it's like, that's not a good message. That's not really the message that Christians truly should be standing by. And there's been plenty of Christians that will, or they think that they're Christians, they say that they're Christians, and they will bring violence into the conversation and act like, oh, we don't want any violence. And that's not Trump, by the way. So people painted Trump as one of these perpetrators, one of these people that are doing, the wrong, that are doing that. But no, Trump never did that. He was never making like veiled threats or things like that. He was pretty blatant with what he's said, and he hasn't done what the actual issue actually really is. And so it's really hard to get to the point when it came to the conservative side and the problem with conservatives and the way that they've come off. It's not a thing of, hey, just go soft. It's, bro, inclusivity. You allow them to exist. If somebody fucks up, you allow them to exist, but you have a conversation with them. God's stronger than the person, the human. But having that conversation with them, everything's made from sound. We found, potentially everything's made from sound. So you want to have a conversation. You want to have an interaction. That just got me thinking about another thing, about how light could be portrayed as like, you got Lucifer, light. So light different than sound. Might have something to do with it biblically. There's a recent theory kind of floating around that like these things are basically portals. Why? Because it's like light. It's like light, I guess. I don't know. That's interesting too. It's random. So God provides, but you still need to build it. Like this scooter doesn't work. I need to get a new battery or maybe also a new motor. I'm not sure, but the battery won't be that expensive at the end of the day compared to everything that I would need to get the other bike going. Because when I go to do that bike, I need like $250. I'm saying 150. Yeah, that's for the controller, for the setup. But I also need a new tire. I also need, a new tube.
Everything's expensive. It all adds up. So that's like everything that I need. I need a lot. But yeah, God will provide, and you'll be able to work it out yourself. If you see something you don't agree with, that's perfect. You're supposed to have the conversation about it. And that's why I talk about a lot of controversial stuff on my channel when it comes to that time, is because I want to have those conversations. And it's good to speak about it. But you can have these conversations with God if you can't be civilized around other people. So I hope you guys continue to pray. God will provide, and have faith, and know that at the end of the day, you need to find your provisions from God, because that's all you have one day. And it's a good thing. It's a humble thing. It's the universe speaking to you. So, anyways, have a good day, everybody. I'll be back maybe tomorrow. I don't know.